All right. So today's session is about Turnitin. Turnitin is precisely, we can say, an online platform, kind of a workplace, just like Google Workplace for these any kind of check for similarity of various contents that we create. Could be a book, could be research article, could be monograph, anything else. And what happens that there are requirements by Higher Education Commission, HEC, that we have to keep that similarity in a particular limit for any kind of writings, and also by various publication houses like research for writing research papers. And so we also have to generate a report. And that's why we took this event. And let's share my PowerPoint so that we can carry on. So this is about basics of Turnitin and the plagiarism. What we are going to do in this workshop, basically, or a session, adding a Turnitin based assignment in Moodle, various stress settings of Turnitin assignment inside the Moodle, basically. Similarity versus plagiarism. Similarity is not always plagiarism. There is a possibility that there are certain things which are similar. For example, a definition in English, a mathematical formula, a statistical formula, any kind of I will say, if I talk about biology, any kind of gene, its structure or whatever, those things could be similar, but these are not plagiarized, right? So Turnitin basically tells us only similarity and not the plagiarism. That is the first thing to clear. Then we will briefly talk about what is the role of the faculty in that. Actually, the whole of the role is of the faculty, because Turnitin is just telling us a few facts, and we have to actually analyze those facts to finalize and find out that whether that similarity is plagiarism or not. So this is what we are going to talk about. So this is provided to us by Higher Education Commission. HEC have paid for unlimited access, and I would just want to elaborate a little on it, that it's basically kind of a working LMS. There are various things that we can do on it, like grading. We can also generate different types of not only assignments, but now many more activities for the students also. But since we have a student's limitation, that's why we do not actually use that as an LMS, and we use Moodle instead. So why check similarity? There's a requirement by the HEC and all publications. Publications like, for example, if you want to publish a book, as I've said, journal, etc., any type of research should not be plagiarized. Okay? Now, plagiarism is using someone's work without giving due credit. What is plagiarism? We use other people's work when we are writing a discussion, we are writing any kind of introduction or whatever. We use the content, right? But this is important that we give due credit to. So how Turnitin help us? Turnitin basically check all the written work against any kind of material content that is available on the internet. But this is to clear that if something is not available on the internet, like an old book, many of our students used to copy, go to the library and find out the old books from there and use material from them. So we cannot check it online since it is not available online. And Turnitin is software, it can check only those things which are online already. So, like for example, initially the FSE, the intermediate book, was the very important. So books were the most important source of the students' assignments because those were not available online. Now these are. Anyway, so this is basically, Turnitin is just simply blankly providing us the similarity, but the material available against the internet. Now, every similarity is not plagiarism. Sometimes it could be unavoidable similarity, like I say, mathematical formula, definition. It is the instructor's responsibility, the role of the teacher, basically, to find out it is plagiarism or not. Now, what happens that how we can actually, if we find out that this similarity is not plagiarism, okay, then what we can do, we can apply filters within Turnitin to remove that, I will say, similarity, which is percent part of the index, and the overall similarity will be reduced. For example, there's a definition, there's a formula, and we know that this has to be used in a thesis or a paper like 100 times. Then the index of that similarity will be very high, like by 20% or so. And if we remove that by the filters, that this thing should not be considered plagiarism, or sorry, similarity, then what will happen? Index will go down to like 10%, 8%, or whatever. So this is very important that we actually know to use the filters. Now, what are the HEC's guidelines? This is a 3-page document. I have only highlighted the important parts which are relevant to our very current scenario. Number one, it states that how to interpret originality report. So similarity index of the originality, I am simply reading it. So similarity index of the originality report is showing matches of submitted work with internet content. It is not verdict that document with high similarity index is plagiarized. I always share an example with the in this session every year that one of my students, not my students actually, she was working under someone else, and that time Turnitin was just introduced, and she came to me crying that I got 70% similarity index. My supervisor is terribly angry, and please help me. So I said, let's check it. Let's check it. Let's try it. So when I have seen that, the most of the similarity was basically of some particular kind of sequences, and those has to be the same because those are universal in all human beings and animals, right? So I have removed those from that report, and that goes down basically get, I would say that was about 10%, I think 10 or some percent. So from 72, yeah, because those have to be used in the thesis again and again and again and again, and it was 70-80 pages document, so similarity index was very high, and that from multiple sources. Now, second important point is this, that the similarities in the document may contain matches with author's previous work. It may be ignored if it is the same work. Now, for example, a student writes thesis and then they write research paper out of that. Now, if they have written thesis and the same material data is used for a research paper, then the thesis will be shown as a similarity. We can remove it as a source. So what will happen that, because definitely that must be similar by a lot of percents, and that will be shown to the similarity index. So we can exclude that. There is a possibility. And if we submit that work to a research journal also, they also do the same. Now, one more important point is this, that if the report has similarity index of less than or equal to 19%, then benefit of doubt may be given to the author. But in case any single source has similarity index more than or equal to 5% without citation, then it need to be revised. Now, what happened based upon this, we also basically use this same thing is used basically for the AI. I will say any kind of similarity. Because what happens that AI is a complex phenomenon, yet Turnitin is trying to include its various, I would say, various version of it, various softwares about that, and about that, and trying to find out the, I will say, ways to deal with AI. So AI is generally considered in Turnitin. What I have seen in Turnitin, we're talking about just right now with Dr. Sana. So I'll share that what I have seen in various students' works, that if it is about 20% or less, Turnitin do not consider it. It gives the benefit of doubt to the author because there's a possibility. Because what happens that from where this AI is generating the content from already available content on the internet, right? Because and that is, I think, yet till 2022. It's not, its database is yet not updated to my knowledge. Maybe it is, if it is, someone knows better, I don't know. But sometimes Turnitin gets confused, and they actually remove that AI report from your overall originality report. I think for about few months, they were not generating any report related to AI. They have excluded it. We cannot check it, right? But now recently, I have checked my students' work, and it was showing the AI content and so. But it was saying that according to Turnitin's policy, if it is less than 20%, we will not consider it as like a AI generated content or whatever, and no similarity, right? So AI, they show AI separately other than other similarities, but they show it by percents. that's the way they do it. Now, the technical part. I prefer to do it online. Moodle was not working or working. To be on safe side, I have copied the steps over here. I'll try it directly. If it is not working, then we'll come back to the PowerPoint. So I'll stop this here. And I try to demonstrate how to add a Turnitin assignment inside Moodle and how to set the parameters. So I stop this here. And I would like to share the Chrome screen. That's the technical part of it. All right. So if we want to add a Turnitin assignment, you have to go to your particular course. I have selected this very old course because the students are deregistered, and if I change anything, we can't see it. So what happens that your course could be in any of the formats. Like generally, it's weeks format. You see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I have changed it to the topics format, like introduction, additional materials, course assignments, so that student can see it rather than weeks, they can see the whole of the particular section. So I'll go to the assignment section. You can go to any week wherever you want to add the assignment. The course assignment. And everyone is trained on Moodle? No? Okay. So we simply have to turn editing on. When we see turn editing on, we can go straight to add an assignment, add an activity or resource. Turnitin assignment. We can see another option, assignment. That is basically a typical Moodle assignment. We have to go to the Turnitin assignment. Add it. Now we see this, we have to name it, like simply say assignment. We can give any details here, instructions or whatever. We can display that description on the course page. Submission type, we can select. It should be a file upload. It should be a text submission. Text mean the copy paste or typing or whatever. Then number of parts, how many parts should be there. We can select the parts of the files. I mean, if it is file, we can allow them to actually upload multiple files, up to 5 in
Parts of assignments.
as parts of the assignment. Like for example, someone add the references separately, maybe like that. Now, actual thing is this, now one more thing. Students' originality reports, of course, yes, we want to generate that. Okay, now turn it in advanced option, which is today's basically. Now, first thing is this, that report generation speed. Generate reports immediately. First report is final. If students submit the assignment and the report is generated, that will be finalized and will be used. Second option is this, that generate reports immediately, but reports can be overwritten until due date. So student can upload it again if they have a problem. I mean, till due date, they can change it looking at the content. And third thing could be that generate reports on due date only. In this thing, basically, I generally prefer this one because here students have an option to actually modify their assignment till the due date, because I think it's the right to do that. But it's anybody's choice. Many people select this, the first report is there and it's done. It's your choice. Now, most important thing is this, store student papers in the standard repository. We know repository always, because if it is once in the repository of HEC, it's very difficult actually to remove it from there. And the administrators has to fight with them a lot to actually do that. So they know it. Yes, so always no repository, because if once it is in the repository, there's a trouble.
So default option here.
Default is basically standard repository. So we always have to be careful. It's generally standard repository. Okay, so that's why we have to be careful, and that's why we always mention it definitely. We do not miss it. So check against students' papers, like for example, those on the databases online, like thesis or etc. Student documents. Check against internet, of course, yes. Check against journals, periodicals, publications, yes. Exclude bibliography is a choice. Sometimes what happens in humanities, sometimes people exclude the bibliography, but it's a choice. You can choose it based upon. Now exclude quoted material. Now this is a very important and interesting option. Now one more thing is this, just right here, that if you want to know more about this particular thing, you can click this question mark, and you have the information that what is it actually. So anytime if you need help, you can take help from this. Okay. Then what happens that if there's a formula, if there's a definition, if there is something that you think will be used again and again in a particular document, you can say no, and then you allow the students and tell the students before, maybe in the instructions or so, that they can put that particular thing in quotation marks. If they do it in quotation marks and we say exclude quoted material, we say yes, then what will happen that those quoted materials will not be used in similarity index. And hence, for example, there is a definition. They are using 3-4 times. There's a terminology, 2-3 words, and they are using it again and again and again and again. Okay. Then that will be excluded. And this will actually save us, basically faculty, from a lot of work later on, because then we have to actually check in and remove, apply the filters and like that. There's another option which says exclude small matches. Now what happens that small matches means we can select it by words or percents. Here you can see just below this words or percent. Now, for example, there are few works where you are using a terminology again and again. Like for example, I have disease like type 2 diabetes mellitus. Now students are using it again and again, definitely, right? Now this is giving, because this is a common term, so thousands of papers will be quoting it. So what happens that I can, and this is giving 1% similarity matches, which are more than 100. And that is increasing my index. So we can select it that exclude small matches. Like for example, I say 2 words, or maybe I would say preferably 1%. So if it is something 1% or less, this will exclude it from the matches overall. And the result is our actual index will come. So this is a good option for where we have to use certain terminology again and again. Okay. Normally it is not required, but if it is so, we can. Now for I think language people, I'm not sure, I have not used it by myself. We can also enable e-reader grammar check, and it will apply basically the ETS handbook. I will not comment on it because I'm not very sure what is it. So they can enable it, and what will happen that grammar will be checked against US English dictionary, or maybe by UK English, and it will rate it on various things, like on various things. For example, for spelling, for grammar, for usage, for mechanics, for style. Now this is something which is important for us. Now we can select further things which are common, and I will not talk about them because those are not related to Turnitin. So these are all the Turnitin related options. So we can say save and display. There's an error. But I have the backup over there on the PowerPoint. So what happens that we will get an assignment over here, and students will have a submit button from where they can submit it. And when they submit it, according to my option, report will be generated either immediately and they can see it, and that will be final. Or maybe if I select the second option, then it will be generated, they can see it, and they can change it until due date, and I will see them on the due date. Okay. I mean, by choice, I can see them whenever I want, but or maybe report will be generated on the due date according to our settings.
Will it also show the language check report at that point of time?
Yes, it will show exactly. Except for the third option, where it will generate it on exactly the due date. Whenever the due date is finished, all assignments are submitted, then it will generate the reports. But otherwise, in both first two options, report will be generated immediately. Immediately means sometimes if there's a lot of load on Turnitin, sometimes it takes some few hours to actually generate the report. But normally in 5 minutes maximum, will generate the report. Just once it was too loaded and it took about 24 hours to generate the report. But normally in about 5 minutes, it's done. Yes. So this was the process generating a report. Now what will happen and what will you see? I have to get back to my PowerPoint because Moodle is not showing us anything. So I'll go back to my PowerPoint and later part of it. All right, so I skip this part. We have done this. Yeah. Uh, this is how we will see it. This is how we'll see it basically. A summary. How many assignments are there? How many assignments are submitted? Submit a paper option. If a student is not able to submit it, we can submit it by ourselves by submit a paper. Submission inbox where we can see that which reports are submitted yet and generated, etc. Below this, we can see these like assignment part first, part one here, part two, if we have allowed multiple files. If it is one file, only part one will be there. Then second thing, the start date. This is the start date. Due date, I don't know why this layout is like this, but it's somehow looks like this. The due date here, then post date. If we have set a post date that when I'll post the results, then the post date will also be shown. And at the end, this thing you can see is basically originality. Now let's go ahead. Now, if the reports I should have removed the names anyway, but I've missed it somehow. But anyway, this is how we will see the different students who have submitted or not submitted. Then this is the submission inbox. If they have submitted it, we will see this bar. And this will show us that how much similarity the reports have to the content over internet, to the student thesis, to any other repositories which are available online, and so. Now, this was in showing like 35% similarity, 31% similarity, 30%, 27%, 23%. But these similarities does not mean that these are plagiarized, because what happens that we still have to verify whether this similarity is plagiarism or not, because there is a possibility of applying the filters and finding out that what's happening. When we click this originality, we'll see the report. So I repeat again, when we click this, another window will open in which will be like this. We could see one. I have used my own paper, for example. It was a working paper at that time anyway. So it is showing you, see, originality. Here your comment places it, it's saying 8% similar. 8% similar, right? Now, what we have to do, we have to click over basically where the originality button is coming. When we click over there, that show the matches, it will show us matches in different colors. And every color is basically showing one source. Now, when we click any of the color, for example, I want to see this. You can see all of these are 1%. So when we click any one, we will see it highlighted that which things are. I see, you remember I have said type 2 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Wherever it is, it will show type 2. No, 1,000 papers will have it, maybe more than that. Okay. Then we can click next. This one, for example, you will see where it is. Now we have to find out that whether this is plagiarism or not. Here you can see a button down there, two buttons over there. In the middle, you can see this funnel, it's basically filters. If you click this funnel, we can actually see the resources in more detail. And if we want to exclude a resource, we simply click it and we can exclude it. And these are not going to be, I would say, permanently removed, but these will be in like a recycle bin. And if we want to include those again, we can also do that. There's a possibility. So this is not necessary that if we remove something, this is permanently removed, that source is there. And we can, whenever you want to revive it, we can do that. So to remove a source, we click it and exclude it. Like we click this, it will show it like this. And we say exclude resource, exclude the source. It will exclude the source and this 1% will be gone. Well, one more thing, you can also show that resource. For example, if I click it and I want to see more details here of the work that has been quoted as a resource, as a source, we can also do that. We click it. Here we will see a preview of anything that it is matching our work with. We can also restore anytime. So when we go to the excluded sources, you can see this button, which is a circle basically with a diagonal line. This is basically excluded sources. When we click this, we'll see all the excluded works. If we want to restore something, we can click it and we say restore. Or we simply say restore all, then all will be restored. Why this is important? Because sometimes if we submit something to a research journal for publication, not on student assignment or what, they ask us to simply send up plain reports with not any filter, without applying any of the filters. Then if we just for our own, I would say, satisfaction, we can exclude certain sources to find out that whether what will they do when they make a report, what will they do? They do basically with this. But after that, we have to restore these all to send them the actual report, first report that was generated. So we can also use this restore all options for sending report to them. Now, I think majority of the journals do it by themselves and they do not ask you to send a report, but many times they do it. So this was all from my side. Now house is open for questions.
When we send any assignment after checking the Turnitin report and all that stuff, somehow we have like 18% results are showing, which is comfortably within the range.
Within the range.
And when we send to multiple journals and in different times, some journals they respond to us and they say that your plagiarism is like 30%. That means that the person checking the plagiarism at that journal is not competent enough to comprehend all that stuff. How can we solve these things? Do we have to every time communicate with these people and tell us that we have done wrong?
Actually, what happens that this 17, 18 or 19%.
Dr. Sabha, can you please repeat the question for online participants?
I'm so sorry.
Thank
So sorry, I forgot. So what happens that so Dr. was asking basically that sometimes if we send a report to a research article or whatever to a journal, our report is showing basically 18% or something plagiarism, but similarity. But when they check it, they say it's 30% or whatever. Now, what could be? Now I can answer that. Was it clear? Okay. So now what happens that this is not necessary that they are using Turnitin for checking our work. Okay. Turnitin is one database. There are many more. And maybe they have used another source which have more databases included rather than Turnitin. There is a possibility of this. Now, second thing is this, that we can also claim them. This is not plagiarized. And we can tell them about certain things which we think could be there if they are sharing their file with us. This is not necessary that they will share. It's a choice. But if they share it with us, then we can tell them that these particular things are, I will say, kind of standardized, and they should not include in that original the similarity that they are generating. But of course, we can only request them. It's their total choice that they are accepting it or not. There's a possibility. And I think that this difference should be most probably, number one, that they are not using Turnitin. They are using another database. Okay, or maybe one more thing, that they are using, Turnitin in different countries. I heard it, I'm not sure about it. It may work differently. Okay. It is Turnitin because Turnitin or any other, I would say, company or the software house, they actually share their resources based upon payments. It's totally commercial. So maybe HEC have not purchased a particular version, and its versions may also be different. So this could also be a cause. And unfortunately, it is really difficult to actually resolve that.
Similarly, one of the journals, they basically did not select the option of no repository. and they basically did not accept the publication. I was pretty okay that it happens sometimes. When I submitted the same article to another journal, they said that you got a 99% plagiarism.
Exactly.
I was, shocked. It took me 3 months almost to communicate with the previous journal, and but my paper was basically gone.
This is very
It was
unfair.
basically-
This is what happens. This is what happens if you do it. Yes, this has happened with us also once, because there was not with the actually luckily not with the thesis or a research paper. Basically, it was with the student assignment, because I have
Dr. Sabha, we also have a question online. We have
Sure.
Dr. Shaista. She also wants to ask something.
yeah, sure.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Sabha, for enlightening us on Turnitin. I use it a lot of time, and my students have difficulty in uploading assignment on Turnitin. But I think this is a good way to for every student to access through Moodle, that they can submit. If that's my understanding, that all the students who are enrolled in a course, they can upload their assignment through Moodle, and we can connect it with Turnitin. That's my first question. The second question is that can PDF file be equal to Word file? So if they ask, what should we say to the students, that they are allowed to submit PDF file or Word file? So they are equally good for comments or feedback to them, or the Word file should be allowed to the students. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, I'll respond to the first question. So second question first. What happens that there's no difference? There's no difference between a Word file or a PDF file, because both contents will be the same. But the first question is this: that if we are just talking about, there's a limit of the Turnitin, basically student accounts which could submit the assignments to them. So what happens that whenever that limit, which is I think 320 right now, probably may increase. When that limit basically exceeded, after that students will not be able to submit their assignment whether through Turnitin or through Moodle in any case. So if HEC increases that limit, then only we will be able to. But teachers can do it by themselves, because we also have, you remember I have talked about, there is a submit button over there. We can submit student assignment. We ask them that they email their work to us or provide us in any way, and we can submit them through that submit button. And teacher have to do some work. Like we have a multiple file upload option by if we collect student file or maybe single file upload option. So we have to do it by ourselves. That's the trouble.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise.
Thank you, Dr. Sabha.
Any other question?
There are some questions in the comments.
Let's check the chat here.
Sabha, are we done with the session, or are you looking at the comments?
I am just looking at the comment. There is, I think, a question.
Ifra, please, will
Yeah.
you help?
One semester end, the record for the previous semester also wipes out, right? Now, as instructor, what they should be our preference to check similarity through Turnitin on Moodle setting. I mean, the previous assignments, I think they're talking about. Now, if the student assignments are in the repository, for student assignment, we can select the option of repository. If it is not research based, for example, this is a common assignment. We can simply add it to the repository and that will be checked. In that case, we can select the standard repository option. Because student assignment, if they are not publishing it, that is pretty fine that we add it to the repository. If we select that standard repository option, in that case, that will be checked against all other assignments and like that. I mean, next time.
he talked about the inverted comma option. What if the students play with this option and there is no definition in the text and they are just putting inverted commas, around that paragraph just to avoid the plagiarism? I think we should not select that option. This is my personal opinion.
One question is here. Yeah, one question is from here that if students are using the inverted commas option just for cheating us, then it's simply simply we have to check that. We have to check that. And this is something that again role of the teacher, the role of the faculty is very important, because we check it at multiple places. If it is there, we can simply ask them to resubmit the report, or maybe we can deduct their marks and like that.
And the index citation plus the end of the references. If they have add some condition, in condition now they have to put index citation.
Yes,
back up to the
exactly.
statement, and then afterwards at the end, you have to mention the good references.
Yes,
So that you can
absolutely.
check it whether it's a genuine reference or they're just putting that piece of information in a quotation mark just to make, just to teach you, cheat you.
Yeah.
So referencing that
Yes.
more important.
There is another answer from our administrators, that what happens that if students are doing this like on purpose, then there is a possibility that we cross check it with the reference list that they provide, and if it is not cross listed, then definitely it is. This is another choice. I mean, check.
When
Kind
we
of
get about like 30-40 assignments, usually the teachers don't take that pain to check each and everything like that.
What happens that with
That's
Turnitin,
correct.
with Turnitin,
The citation software. How you have to do the references and how you can just put the index citation as well. So as some places you have to do citation.
if they don't,
That's
if
the statement and then.
we can check it, we can cross check it with the reference list, right?
Can we have a report which shows that the referencing citation style is not, consistent throughout the document, something like that?
I think not in the Turnitin.
Options does not have.
No, Turnitin does not have it right now. But we can do that through like ChatGPT or.
Dr. Sabha, there's also another question in the chat.
Okay, let me check it again.
So somebody has asked, Turnitin detects an AI similarity index even when the content isn't generated by AI. Why does this happen?
Yes, this is the trouble with the AI, because what happens that AI is not is right now is having neural networks based upon the neural networks. So it is basically generating many things anew, just like human beings and human brain. So now there is a possibility that I'm thinking something, 100 people may be thinking something, and also the ChatGPT, maybe Gemini, maybe Copilot, anyone else. So there is a possibility that when Turnitin is thinking that something is AI generated, but this is actually not, then I would not exclude that option. There is a possibility of having it. But of course, in that case, we do not have a resolve, because in that case, either we have to remove that source, like AI, or maybe we can, I would say, do it again, try it again. I would suggest that in that case, do it in another software, for example, which is also checking for the AI, if you have access to. There's a possibility, other than Turnitin, you can check it at another place, like Viper or any other which is more free source. Try to do that.
For online participants, I'm also going to start the polling. Meanwhile, you can continue with the Q&A.
Are we going to get any account for Turnitin, personalized account, just like in my previous institution, they used to give?
I think we have Turnitin accounts for the faculty, yes. Oh, yes. Mukit. They'll send all the details. I think every faculty upon request can get the account, right? We can check our work all the time. We are not actually doing it here because we want to do it through Moodle.
One last question. Do you advise the students to check their, plagiarism online somewhere from any other website?
I do suggest. I do
Are there any recommended websites?
I have
Online,
I have used Viper,
like,
and there are, I think, plagiarism check it. I think there's one I say check it. The Viper was good, and I think plagiarism check. There was another one say plagiarism check. There was a check it, I think, and there are a few more also.
these are authentic ones.
Authentic one. I mean, I have no, they don't. Yes. And what happens that I have compared their content with the Turnitin content, and it was like quite comparable. Of course, Turnitin is little better than them because definitely it's commercial one, but still they do it pretty well for normal assignments. It's fine.
Is it manager and management the word now? It will be exceeded then not decided. So ma'am, is there 320
320 students
students?
who can for whole of the university. For whole of the university. That was the trouble. But still, that will be too. I mean, that will not be working enough for us because we have a very good. I mean, we have huge student body. So
There's one more problem that occurs to me. Students, they make content out of AI and then they use some another AI to paraphrase that stuff, make it more humanistic. Humanize it.
unfortunately,
Is the current,
let me
that stuff.
let me repeat the question for online people. Dr. was asking that what happens that if the student generate a content with AI and then they modify that content further by another AI tool, and it could not be checked by the Turnitin, that then is there any solution? Sorry to say, I would say no. Because what happened that the paid, I will say myself, I also have paid version of ChatGPT. I did it for my own project, basically. So what happens that paid version of ChatGPT generates the content for you, which will not be checked, not be actually in any way caught by any other software. And there's one more advanced because I have basically purchased the basic version of it. There's a more advanced for Teams, and I have heard that through that they can then generate any content that no plagiarism set software can actually find out, and that is very good. That is excellent. That is the excellent content, and that could not be checked by any software.
So current is clean board here.
Clean board here right now. That's why they remove it, they modify the content again and again, and then they then they add the AI check. I think for a few months, AI check was not available in Turnitin. They were modifying it. So as ChatGPT and other software are modifying, they are also modifying, but it's a race. It's a race, simple. And both are commercial content, so they will do it. They will do it. It's a race for money, simply as in simple and straight words. And that's all. We have to follow it. That's it. We have to be vigilant. That's what I would say.
Miss Aisha Amjad also has a question. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hanji, sessions ho gaye? Are we done with our session?
We have one question from Miss Aisha Amjad. She's just unmuting herself to us.
Okay.
It's in the chat. I'll read it out. What is the criteria of HEC of thesis submission? Do we have to attach a plagiarism report and AI report?
Both. We have to record both.
Is there any guideline for the AI content in the thesis by the HEC?
In fact, if you look at those guidelines, the single source from a material from single source should be less than 5%. And they consider basically AI as a single source. So technically it should be less than 5%.
But the AI report or the AI report is not included in the similarity index of the HC when we check the.
Yes, it's separate. It's separate.
Yes.
And that's why it has to be less than 5%, to my knowledge. Because it's a single source.
But sometimes.
Though in actuality it is not, because maybe someone has generated contents by like some part by ChatGPT, some part by Gemini, added to the Copilot, things like that. So multiple sources could be there. And Turnitin, I have seen its reports, it's not able to actually even differentiate between those.
Yeah.
So
This is the
that's why it says 20%. If it is less than 20%, I do not consider it to be AI generated. I have selected a report for a
But sometimes
student
it is
and-
also depends upon the size of the content, the word count. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah, exactly.
It is a one paragraph.
How-
Yeah.
It's a small paragraph, right? The content percent will be, of course, lesser. But as per HEC, it should be as single source. If we say it should be less than 5%, that's why Turnitin also generate the report for them separately. Similarity index will not include basically the AI. AI will be reported separately, like 20%, 25%, or like that. I have done it many times. And I have asked my student to, I'll not quote whoever was it, but anyway, I have said that this is showing 40% AI content. Sorry, ma'am, I have do it again. How do you do it? I'll ask my friend to use the commercial one. Like, try it. Let's see. Next day, it was less than 20%. Not detected. So, so the commercial, the free version generated the report bought to some extent by Turnitin, and the commercial version report, nothing.
Yes. I also received one report where plagiarism percentage was 0. And I was not expecting that. Because 0 cannot happen, there has to be something.
Rare possibility.
So, see, there are certain tools and techniques still existing in the market, to avoid that stuff.
There are many Turnitin, I will say, I forgot the names of them, but they are basically this is before AI. For AI. There were tools which actually can cheat the Turnitin cheat or things like that. And they could cheat the Turnitin easily. They reword it. Whenever you submit a Turnitin originality report to them, they reword it on those particular places where Turnitin actually have highlighted, with some of the colors that we were showing those colors. And then the similarity is gone. But we could detect it at that time, because what happens that the sentence structure was not fine, because that was initial form of AI, but that was, I will say, not very finished. So what has happened that we could catch it by looking at the sentences are little weird, right? And the words are misplaced. I mean, looking at the English, right? So at that time we could detect it, but now AI has resolved this for them. So as a
Thank you.
role of our teacher is very difficult.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabha. I'll just like to invite Dr. Oksana to say a few words and close the session, since we are almost reaching the time limit. So Dr. Oksana, if you could please join.
जी, everybody done, everything happy, no other questions. Adil, आपने कुछ comment करना? Saima Majid, I see very, sharp people in there. Any comments that you might have noticed that something new has come up about AI and Turnitin?
That was incredible session, Dr. Ruxana. So
हाँ जी, नहीं,
all queries were
कोई चीज
resolved.
रह गई ऐसी जो कि you could share about AI and Turnitin?
Yeah, it's Dr. Ruxana, I have encountered several problems while I was checking assignments. It is becoming difficult day by day because there are other platforms of AI that when you write something and then you put into those platforms and it will rephrase everything. So it is becoming very difficult nowadays.
Yeah. I just wanted to say कि आपने सबा ने एक बात की थी कि कितने % पे वो similarity check को allow कर रहा है. Was that 20% like it is with similarity check of text? Sabah?
Yes, it was saying that. I mean, in the last report that I have generated, it was saying that if it is less than 20%, I will not consider it as
Yeah.
AI generated.
So, okay. Actually, I have heard recently that anything that's totally AI generated is also not being considered irregular according to the task, depending on the task. If you're writing an email or if you're putting up a research proposal or any other thing, there are multiple areas where probably the whole, if you use AI for the whole draft, it's not considered cheating. So depending on the task, again, please let me repeat, depending upon the task that you are to do. So I think what we need to do is keep on being vigilant and very careful about AI. The issue about Turnitin, let me go back to that, is that your students cannot register totally into the Turnitin account. The Turnitin accounts are only up to 600 students. And the moment we drop, complete those 600, other faculty cannot include their class. And Sabah, I think you have told how if we have to go beyond that number and include our class into the account. There are other ways. You have to do it one by one, which is very tedious. And there are issues around the use of students' assignments in Turnitin. Just to alert you all that Dr. Trimble has recently asked CLT and library to get together to think of ways where we can allow our students to join more so that faculty use Turnitins. Since you cannot place your whole class in the account, you sort of stop using Turnitin. And we want to encourage the use of Turnitin. So I think we will think of some ways where you can add your students to the class and things should be fine. Is there anything else that needs to be clarified, Ifra? Ji Sabah, anybody else?
I think no one is asking anything here.
No, so everybody is quiet. I see lots of people online. There are like 32, but nobody is responding. So I think we'll call it a day. Shaista, anything that you want to say? Ambreen, I can see some faces. And
I have
happy.
already asked a question which I was confused about. So I'm there. Thank
So
you very
things
much,
are okay.
Sabah, and thank you
Yeah.
as well.
So Sabah, you, as ever, you do a very, very concise and you pull the things together. Thank you so much. We're delighted to have you with us. And if there are any concerns about Turnitin, please do ask us and we'll see what we can do. There are lots of changes happening. And so we have always to be a step ahead and we look forward to your queries, if any. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sabah. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.